Yes, and we're back. Welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View. My name is Ryan Clifford, and joining me on this episode, where Scott Bain departs Celtic, who else may leave in the summer, is Alan Stirling, and Daniel's back on with us. Well, lads, as we've seen today, a wee small exclusive, shall we say. I know it's been in the news for a while, but Scott Bain does leave Celtic after 7 years. I think it's 16 titles all in terms of trophies. Alan, what's your thoughts on that? And how do you kind of sum up Scott Bain at Celtic?
No, how are we, guys? Yeah, Scott Bain leaving. I think he's on his way back to Gotham City, kicking about with the Joker and Batman. So we'll look at Bain again, but no, in all seriousness, it's kind of he's been riding on the coattails, shall we say, the team, and fair play to him. He's probably had the last 7 years, been part of a squad at Celtic. He's probably been handsomely paid, probably set him up for life. He's played very little, but he's contributed to the squad. I'm sure he'll be a kind of part of the dressing room as well, with regards to morale, etc. So, yeah, we wish him all the best. And in terms of kind of losing quality depth within the team, I'm not so sure, kind of Scott Bain, with all due respect, that he wasn't really kind of first or second choice. So I think he was just a backup goalkeeper. He done exactly what it said in the tin. We didn't see a great deal of him apart from kind of a few games, come back a few years. But yeah, wish him all the best in the future, and I'm sure we'll probably see him in a club in maybe the Scottish Premier League. I think one of the lower clubs would probably snap their hand off to get a goalkeeper with the experience such as Scott Bain now.
He's probably still a good goalkeeper, Alan, in terms of that side. I would say in terms of if it's Falkirk or Aberdeen or St Mirren, I think he would do a good job for them, and even a championship team if it's Partick Thistle, Raith Rovers, a team like that. I think he would be number one there, no problem. It's a good experience, like you say. He's been involved in some really good years at Celtic, brilliant managers, Postecoglou, Lennon, and obviously Rodgers. So he's a good experience behind him. Yes, he maybe not played a lot of football, but for a goalkeeper, for somebody to go to in Scotland, I think it's a good signing. Below Celtic or Rangers, I think any team would probably snap him up, like you say, mate. But obviously, Dan, you're back on, mate. How are you? And obviously, what's your thoughts on Scott Bain leaving, and how do you sum up his Celtic career?
All right, everybody, how we doing? It's good to be back. But I Scott Bain, he's just one of the guys. Like he comes into the club at a time where we're looking for a backup goalkeeper rather than a striker. Not a striker, a starter. Dear me. And he turns up to Celtic Park in his Hibs trackie. Gave us all a good laugh. So he's one of the guys. He became a bit of a mascot for the team. Do you know what I mean? Like he knew he wasn't going to play a lot. He was just there to, I don't know,
I
make a decent
covered for
living.
Hoopy the Huddle. I know. I think he done some of them. He was he was under the mask a few times. So I'm right there. You're on mute. You hear that?
That was new. Jeez, oh, mic turned off. But he's just one of the guys. He's been. Hold on, let me fix this.
Sorry,
Apologies,
mate.
gentlemen. Thank Christ it's no live.
Could see the three balls put in.
He's just one of the guys, mate. He's just come in to do a job. And he knows he wasn't going to play a lot of games. And he's learned off of some great quality keepers at the time at the club. So, like you says, for a lower league team, I think he's a no-brainer. Free agent. I think we'll see him stay in the Scottish Premiership as well, like Alan says. So sad to see him go, but at the same time, it does open the door for somebody else to come in and maybe give a bit push for game time.
I think quite a good point there, Alan, that Daniel makes. He's somebody else. time in the squad, and that could be Ross Doohan, who's looks like he's signing, probably taking that squad place that Scott Bain was in, but obviously he's played with Aberdeen a bit this year, so he's first team ready, shall we call it, if he's going to come in and play in Scotland. So, but obviously Scott Bain and probably two of his major highlights, if you want to call it that, in a Celtic jersey, was obviously the 3-2 victory at Ibrox, where Craig Gordon and the Feet were injured. Scott Bain going to come in, he came in and played. It was fantastic that day. He saved us a few times, to be fair. Morelos misses that Saturday, I think, as well. So that's one of his highlights, I would say, that game. And we all know that game is probably the game that took away the seats at Ibrox and Celtic Park, and that's what all caused it, the ticket situation, shall we call it. So then obviously Lille, away from home, he was good as well in Europe. So for me, Alan, they're probably two games that spring to mind. I don't know what you think on that, Alan, but for me, that's probably two highlights. I would say Scott Bain's, if I say his career, they're the highlights that I can think of, mate.
Aye, no, there is a couple of games that he did contribute towards some of our success, but the first thing that comes to mind, I think it was against Hibs, that the ball came all the time, and he was doing a river dance 30 yards out, and they went through the back, and he's kicking about like Michael Flatley. Aye, so there was something like that. I don't know. There's a few times he's been caught kind of in no man's land. That's the first thing that kind of comes to my mind. But credit where credit's due. The guy's done a job. He's come in. As I say, it's just exactly what it says in the tell. He's back up. When he's come in for backup, there is a couple of times, like you mentioned, he has contributed. He's done reasonably well, but I'd probably say the other times that he's come in, looked, I think, probably the nicest way to say it is rather suspect. We're talking about the boy Doohan for Aberdeen that's supposedly coming back in. He's obviously he was with Celtic as a youth, so it's the same again. I think that we're looking at we're number one, number two goalkeeper, and then there's somebody there for kind of worst case scenario if there's injuries, suspensions, etc., and they'll be asked to maybe come in and fill a gap. So I think these kind of players like Doohan and Scott Bain, I think they're under no illusions. I think they're told just kind of as soon as they come in that this is what's happening. Are you happy in this kind of situation? As I say, they'll be getting a handsome wage and kind of following a massive club like Celtic through Europe and through kind of domestic success most of the time. So you could sign me up for it, no bother, if I was a kind of a no bad goalkeeper. But I think the best thing to say is kind of we wish Scott Bain all the best, and I thank you for your limited service.
Aye, no, I think you're right, Alan, in terms of Scott Bain. Listen, and Josh Doohan, whoever comes here, even second choice partly, but more to third choice, you understand you're under no illusions, as you say, what your job role is here. Obviously, to train hard and work hard and try and get into the team, but you know your game time is going to be limited. And if Casper's injured, probably Sinisawa plays, then you step up to be on the bench. So, but again, listen, we could be all surprised, and Ross Doohan could be amazing in pre-season, and we might see him more than we think. Who knows? It's down to the player now. He's got a massive opportunity at a big club to come in and establish himself if he can, if it's a second choice or the first choice. But I think Daniel, I think Ross Doohan, I've under no illusions, he will come here as first choice, and it's really down to him where he gets game time or whether he thinks he's good enough or believes himself to get to that second and first choice. But it's a massive step up to go with Aberdeen to Celtic. But I think he's been here before, Daniel, so I think he's under no illusions what he's come to.
Oh, definitely. But I feel for if it is Ross Doohan to come in and replace Scott Bain, he's got a big task in his hands, because not only does he need to beat Sinisawa if he wants to even make the bench, he needs to also beat Kasper Schmeichel if he wants regular game time. So I feel more for him, it'll be more focusing on trying to show the manager why he should be that backup choice rather than a starter. I don't see him coming in and making shock headlines. He's straight into the squad straight away. I mean, he's a fantastic goalkeeper, and I think it's a great bit of business by the club. But Kasper Schmeichel should be our starter heading into next season. I would like to see game time balanced, like I said previously. I would like to see a bit more of Sinisalo. I feel like when he's played, he's been good, but it's a big challenge for Ross Doohan, and I feel it's a sink or swim moment if he is coming into the club with a mindset of trying to push and be that number two. Because if he's handed an opportunity in pre-season, he needs to take it, because I think Sinisalo is cemented as number two at the club.
Aye, I think you're bang on, Daniel. I think it's between Sinisalo and Casper, and obviously Ross will be in there to be behind him and try and push his way in. I think you're probably spot on there. I think Aaron Daniel is spot on there that Ross is probably fighting to be the second choice. Even though I'm agreeing with Daniel, I think Sinisalo's second choice, barring on, be number one to a degree. Obviously, because Michael is getting older, the work overload he might be getting again next year, if you get in the format for the Champions League, with the cup games, I think the cup games might be spared between Sinisalo and Doohan. That might be the way it might go. Personally, it should be always a second choice. It should be getting the League Cup games if I'm not playing in your major season games. So, but what's your thoughts on that, Alan, to what Daniel says there?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that he will have a task in his hands, because I think Sinisalo's shown enough with the game time that he's got this season. Obviously, Casper was out with injury. Sinisalo's come in. He's maybe not been perfect. Personally, I think he maybe could be a bit stronger coming out and catching balls instead of kind of the punching, etc. That looks a wee bit flattened, but he's still a young goalkeeper and he's got a lot to learn. And there's nobody to learn better under than the likes of kind of the experience of Casper Schmeichel. So I think when you look at kind of next season, if Ross Doohan comes in, I think you'll find it extremely difficult to get much game time whatsoever, because I think the performances that Sinisalo's shown so far this previous season, I think that shows that he merits probably more game time than they got this season. I think you're looking at the progression of young players, young goalkeeper. I think the only way that he's going to learn is by getting that game time with a club like Celtic. So I would probably expect to see a little more of Sinisalo this year. And that's even without barring any injuries. I think his performances have merited that, and I think it'd be harsh on him if he didn't get that game time, because he's starting to kind of get to that age that you want to be kind of playing, getting more minutes, etc. And you look at, we'll mention soon, but I think that probably rules out another goalkeeper. If we're signing Ross Doohan, it rules out another goalkeeper that we've got on the books at the minute. It's out on loan at Dunfermline. Going to say Toby, because I'll probably murder his second name. So everybody will know who he is. It's Toby for Dunfermline. But I think we're looking for kind of three credible goalkeepers that can come in and kind of fill a gap. And if Ross Doohan comes in, I think we've got kind of three capable goalkeepers there.
I think as well, I think Josh Clark is out on loan at Ayr as well. I don't know if he's out
Aye.
of contract or he's coming back, but I know he was at Ayr as well. So there you go, that's five. So Scott Bain's leaving. I'd imagine either they'll be with the B team or they'll go back out on loan. Personally, for me, Alan, I think that's probably going to be the case in terms of that'll be a free next year, barring any serious injuries to Casper or Sinisalo. I don't think we'll be signing any goalkeeper unless. Listen, I think unless you see a quality goalkeeper that you could pay for and get him in, then listen, we don't need to stick with Casper. People might think that's the case, but if you can get a younger goalkeeper who's maybe a bit of money on him for the longer term, listen, go and get him. I don't think you can just stick on Casper just because he's signed a new deal or that extra deal and he's here. You can always try and improve, but obviously, Daniel, in terms of players leaving, with Scott Bain, we'll start with two, mate. Is there any two in particular or any two that you want to delve into? Then I'll go to Alan. Alan can go back to yourself on that. But there's loads of players. I don't want to say deadwood, but there's loads of French players out on loan, players are not getting game time or they're spreading game time. But is there two, mate, that is the top of your list that you feel that should be shown the door or that you think should potentially, in your mind, be leaving the club?
Well, just to comment on fringe players and stuff like that, we've got a few boys out on loan, but the biggest one for me, I think, has to be Luis Palma. When he joined the club, he had a good bit of form, and then I don't know what happened. It just evaporated. When he was coming on, he's not direct. He was too focused on trying to cut in and either play a pass or have a shot rather than take anybody on. And for the way that we need to play, you need to be able to run. Do you know what I mean? And he just looked leggy when he was coming on. He never looked fit. After he'd been dropped, he just never looked like regaining that fitness. So I feel like for me, the biggest one of our fringe players who should be maybe cut to bring somebody else in has to be Luis Palma. But just to come back to about like starting players that I think maybe we might see leave. I think Rio Hatate is one. He's probably our best player in our team right now, but I feel like something was just missing with him. He looked unsettled. So I did think initially towards the end of the season we might see a lot of rumours with him, but with this injury to his knee, I think that could scupper any move for him. So he would be one that I would head in and go, I think we would have lost him, but nowadays I think it's more likely that we'll see him kept. But in terms of fringe players, it has to be Luis Palma for me. That's my one.
And your thoughts on that? Obviously, I know you're a big fan of Rio, Alan. I know there was sometimes I think cycles do end. I'd probably, if he was fully fit into the season, it could have been a possibility. I don't think it will be now. I think Daniel's right. I don't think it will be now due to that. But what's your thoughts on, obviously, Luis Palma?
Sideways.
I don't know, mate. I've just noticed that there. I don't know. I don't know.
I've not touched my phone, so but
I haven't a clue, mate. No, I've not done nothing, mate. I've done nothing. I'll add you back in and back out. Just to, this is going live. I know I'm doing this. This is mental, man.
What that was.
I know. Claim that was. Mate, there. There we go. For some reason, I don't know why it's not doing that. I don't know what's happening here. Wait there. I'll put Alan back in. See if that works. No, mate, I think it must be your phone.
I'll come back in. You stop, right?
Right, oh, no worries. But on Luis Palma, Daniel, I think you're probably right, mate. I think in terms of the money side as well, he's probably on decent wages. He came for a bit of money.
Yeah.
I know Olympiacos, I think, don't want to keep him. I don't know if that's due to the finances or it's they don't want to keep him. I don't know, mate. But I think you're probably right on that. I think in terms of wage cutting, finances, in terms of a first team starter that was a kind of first team starter, a wee bit under Ange, and then Brendan. I think it's maybe time to go. I agree with you in terms of he was a bit part player, got a bit of form, and then it just, for whatever reason, like you says, I agree with you. It doesn't look quick. It does look a bit leggy. It did look a bit unfit in terms of the chasing back as well and stuff. Just didn't look like he was involved. And I agree with you. I think the way we want to play, I think Rodgers wants dynamic wingers.
Yeah.
Take like Jota and Kuhn. I know Kuhn has had a wee tiny bit into the season and he performed, but I agree with you, mate. I think the way we want to play, I think it's something we'll need to look at in the summer in terms of being direct. I think if he buys a winger or two, I think they'll need to fit his system, and then that means going direct and actually going for goal and no actually try to cut another thing.
100%, mate. Just to come back as well, I mean, we've got a few lone players within the team now. I do not see us signing Jeffrey Schlupp permanently. Obviously out of contract at Palace. Came in initially, started, think he had a bit of form. Came in, I'd maybe say hit the ground running. Became a wee bit of a fan favourite over Greg Taylor. But I think as soon as we were finished in Europe and wrapped up the league title, he just seemed to put the feet up. Do you know what I mean? And if you're going to be a Celtic player, that's not the mentality we're looking for. Like, you need to be at it at all times. It's no, I've done my job here. Hang the boots up, that's me, I'll see you later. Do you know what I mean? So personally, I wouldn't take Schlupp because of that mindset. But if the club were to keep him and try their best to get him permanently, if he's going to keep that form that he came into the club initially, then I would be happy. But for me, it's no one that I would look to continue.
I was a big fan of Schlupp, to be fair, Danny, when he came in, but the last few weeks, I'm similar to you. I wouldn't re-sign him because he's probably going to want 30 odd probably grand a week. He's probably had to get his
Yep.
wages halved that he got at Crystal Palace, and would we really want to pay that money for a guy who might not play much? Because let's be fair, Kieran Taylor, in my opinion, is going to play a lot more than a lot of fans think. I can't believe we're getting him in. I think he's going to be a tremendous signing. People get opinions on his injury situation, I get it, but he's been fit for the majority of the season for Arsenal. He's always been on the bench. He started a few games. He's fully fit to come in and play right away, in my opinion. So I'm agreeing with you on that, Daniel. Obviously, Alan, Jeffrey Sloop, Lewis Palmer, Hitati. What's your thoughts on the trio there, mate?
Aye, I've done something here that probably Lewis Palmer should do. I've returned. So, aye, but we're looking at Lewis Palmer. Like, I didn't really take to Palmer. I know when he first came in, his goal scoring and his assists, it was pretty good, his numbers, to be honest, but I get a sense of his attitude, and he's just so selfish on the ball, and he's not a team player. Just there was a couple of occasions when he was playing in Europe as well that he was dispossessed with the ball. There was no effort to kind of chase it back down. There was no effort whatsoever to kind of run back. You see the likes of Cal McGregor, Rio Patati, other players that are chasing the ball kind of 40, 50 yards to try and get that ball back because they've made that mistake. I don't see that for Palmer. I couldn't take to his attitude, and I think he should be moving on. I think if Yang's getting into the team before you, then there's no doubt that you're moving on. But like you mentioned Sloop as well, yeah.
Aye.
So Sloop, he did look pretty decent his first few games when he came in, and we were putting him ahead of Taylor. But I think his form after that's kind of fell off a cliff. He's looked very edgy, kind of defensively. There's no doubt that it looks pretty decent going forward, but I don't think the investment that we'd need to make with regards to kind of wages and signing on fee as a Premier League player, I don't think that it merits signing what we're seeing for Jeffrey Sloop. I can't see us signing him now. I think there probably would have been some sort of an announcement or some sort of a rumour coming out, but it's all been very, very quiet in that front. So I probably think that's two of the most likely that's going to be leaving, Jeffrey Sloop and Lewis Palmer. I'd be interested to see how we're going to get another club for Lewis Palmer when I think Olympiacos have already come out and says that they're not interested in kind of making that a permanent deal. But there's other players that's the two that you mentioned, wasn't it? Yeah.
Aye.
But you're looking at the likes of kind of Lagerbielke. Has he had a chance? I don't know. That's one of the kind of discussions you have as Celtic fans. But I think it's clear as day with him and kind of the likes of Mentorovski. I think that Brendan's come in and whatever's happened, whatever he's seen, he's not really taken to them. I think when you're seeing that Lagerbielke's been put out on loan and we're keeping the likes of kind of Leo Scales, we've brought in Austin Trusty. I don't really see a future for Lagerbielke. I don't know if 20 will be interested in keeping a hold of him permanently. Only time will tell, but I'd probably see that's the next one going out. And then when you're looking at that same position, Stephen Welsh as well. It's a player that's come through the kind of Celtic youth. He has played kind of well as a squad player at times, but he's getting to that age now. He's kind of mid-20s now. I think he's 24, I'm sure, roughly that. And I think if he's ever going to kind of get to that standard as a player for Celtic, then they probably would have reached that already. And it's just what you always love to see, kind of Celtic supporters and players get through your system and players that know the city, that know the club. You want them to succeed so that we've got that kind of backbone, a kind of homegrown players that love the club and they know what it takes for success here. But it's just sad to see that I don't think Stephen Welsh is up to that standard, shall we say. I think he's been about the first team for long enough. And he's not quite made that step up in terms of quality to kind of cement a place in the squad or kind of the first 11. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I know all the players that we're going to go through here, that there's no a possibility that we can turn around basically 16 players, etc. That's impossible. But there will be a few of these that leave, and it's obviously just our opinions on the matter and who we see as the most likely to leave, I'd say.
Aye, Lager Bielka for me is again, it's the one that they can't really judge him properly because he's not the one of games to say I'm good or I'm not good enough. Apart from the final penalty mistake, he's not really done much wrong in terms of he's not good enough or he's a bomb scare. Like he's not been
Just a
that
bit
bad.
clumsy, that's a bit of
Aye,
a bit
but in
clumsy.
terms of he's a young guy as well, Alan Company for Celtic for Sweden. He's played for the international team in Sweden. Now, Sweden might not be the force of old internationally, but Sweden have got a decent crop of young players as well. And he was playing in front of Starfelt the odd game when he first came to Celtic, when he came to Celtic for Sweden. So, again, I don't know. Is it because it's no larger signings? Is there maybe small things that he doesn't like to play his system? I don't know. Mike Nadowski for me, that's a crazy situation. I'm not saying the guy's Maldini. I'm not saying he's Nesta. I'm not saying he's Rio Ferdinand or John Terry. But for what I've seen from Nerofsky, he's been more confident in the full games he's started than some of the games Liam Scales has played. And Austin Trusty. And for me, that's a fact. I don't think any Celtic fans can say that's not true because he's been... The game against Aberdeen, he was brilliant. He was getting the ball, playing it wide, crisp. 1-2 touches away. Scales takes 5 or 6. Trusty takes 5 or 6. And so that's right away. He's quick on the ball than them. The only thing I can say about Nerofsky is he is a wee bit frigid, if I shall, or rigid, shall I call it. He maybe knows as quick as Trusty or maybe as quick as Scales. Apart from that, I don't see what Nerofsky's done wrong. Rangers, he was brilliant. When he wasn't meant to start, he was meant to be starting Dane Murray, which I don't get. Again, I'm not a manager, but I don't get that. A guy who's he's playing with Queen's Park in the Championship, and then he's getting put back and then go and play against Rangers. When you've got a guy who's playing at that level all season, again, I'm not a manager, but it's like you said, Alex opinions. But Nerofsky for me, Hearts, he was good. Aberdeen, he was good. Like I says, Daniel, for me, on Nerofsky, if you watched the Aberdeen game and didn't know about any of that Celtic team, you didn't know who they were, their price tags, didn't know if they were first team players or not, you might think that guy's hard played all season. But on obviously Lager Bielka and Rocky, Daniel, what's your thoughts on Alan's two players there?
Well, to come back to Alan's point about Lager Bielka, I do agree with him that he just looks a wee bit too nervous at times. Obviously, away in Feyenoord, he does get the red card and the penalty mistake and stuff like that. But listen, any centre half has got that mistake in them. Do you know what I mean? But that seems to be a recurring theme with some Celtic centre backs now. Like seeing the easy games, like your home games, stuff like that, they stroll it. But see, when it comes time against like a Rangers or a European game, it's as if their head just goes and they're panicking on the ball. And then, I mean, they're playing beside Carter Vickers, who is composure personified. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen that guy look scared on the ball, ever. So, I don't know where that comes from, but Big Mike Nawrocki, man, I love him, personally. I think he should be starting a lot of the games. I agree with you, Ryan, that Liam Scales is just... I don't like him. Like I feel like he's only starting in that role because he is a left-footed player. Do you know what I mean? Because like the Aberdeen game with Big Night, if you watch that game, you wouldn't think he's not a starter. Like if you are coming for somewhere else and you're just, oh, we'll have a look at the Celtic game, and if he's playing every single game, regardless of whether it's Aberdeen, Rangers, Hearts, he looks comfortable on the ball. He doesn't waste his time with it. He takes a touch, pings it, gets it out his feet quickly. What looks to hold the line. I would rather have him playing on his weaker foot beside Carter Vickers than a left-footed Liam Scales. And that's just my opinion. I'm not the manager, like you said as well. But I don't see a reason why he shouldn't be playing when he's
What's your
quality.
opinions on Welsh? Like I say, Sir, do you think he's got a future at Celtic?
I mean, we did try our best to keep a hold of him, even though we did send him out on loan. We didn't want that. I don't know why. The manager must see something that we're not seeing. Obviously, youth player, homegrown, but the seasons that he was a starter under Neil Lennon and that during COVID, I never really was impressed with him. Do you know what I mean? Like there was never a game where I went, he was a standout there. He was quality. Do you know what I mean? But if we do keep him as like a squad player, obviously being out on loan might help him. But aye, for Stephen Welsh, I'm not too sure about his future. But if the club's gone through that effort to make sure that it's not a loan with an option to buy, then they must see something that maybe we're not seeing. Do you know what I mean?
I know. I think John Stephen Welsh, lads. I want our youth guys to have come up and to do well. I don't want to say he's made it, but he's one of the. I know before we came home, we spoke about Kieran Tierney. He's probably the standout that's come through recently. Welsh has done recently well. He's done okay, but he's no a mainstay. KT's been the only guy that's really been a mainstay in a long time, and that's been what 10 years now, roughly. Danny, we spoke about since 2016 or so. So that's pretty telling on the youth system, and obviously that's another conversation to have. But Stephen Welsh for me, lads, I would, if you can get a few million, just let him go. I was surprised a few years ago they not backed apparently £4 million for Udinese. I thought it was strange. I didn't understand it. Maybe it was due to injuries or I don't know. But like you says, Daniel, the manager must see something from him. He sees him every day. We don't see these players every day. We only see them for 90 minutes on the park. But Welsh for me, I would probably try and again. He's probably on decent wages. I'm not going to guess his wages, but it might be the low bracket. But he'll be on a decent sum. Plus, he's been in a lot of campaigns. He's playing Europe as well, so he has got experience for another team. But for me, I think if we want to progress, and as Brendan Rodgers talks about, he keeps talking about buying players with power and pace and dynamicism and all that type of stuff. That's no Welsh. So that doesn't fit that. So that's why, obviously, we'll touch on near the end of the podcast, lads. But some of the players we'll need to sign, I think we'll need to. He wants certain players to fit his system, and some of the players we have got that he signed haven't fit that. That's what he says. So, but obviously another few, obviously Alan as well. Alan, you've got Marco Tilio and Kwon. There's two. We can mention. I know Kwon is coming back for Hibs. Didn't really play with Hibs near the end of the season. He started okay for him. Didn't really play after Christmas much at all. You've got Marco Tilio. He started playing okay back in Australia. As a standard for what he's playing now, going to make it Celtic. I think he might come back in pre-season and see how he does. I don't know. But anytime I've seen him, the 2 or 3 games I've seen him, he looked a bit lost, a bit not in sync with the team. Just didn't look that he was kind of fit, really. I don't know how that's due to not being at pre-season fully. I don't know, Alan, but they two players, for me, I think I've got no future at all. I don't think no. For me, I don't want them back at pre-season because I don't see the point. Because what's the point of giving somebody a pre-season for him to told again, but they would just let you know that's you away again. I'd rather get them out the door, get finance in for the campaign coming up, and get some space for new players.
Aye, I don't think there's much to discuss about the two players. I think we put the chat a few weeks ago. There was a Marco Tilio interview with Australian media. It said kind of Celtic still own him, but he looked as if he'd already kind of admitted defeat that he wouldn't be back at Celtic. So I think these are two players that we're just need to write off. They've no cut the mustard at Celtic. Aye, I don't think we've got much to add apart from what you're saying. I don't see them back at Celtic, and probably don't see them back at pre-season either. I think they'll be pastures anew, shall we say? And aye, good luck to them.
And yourself, Daniel, I don't know if you get another opinion on that, mate, but do you see any future for the two?
I don't see a future for Marco Tilio. I mean, like you said, even if a couple of appearances he's made, he's not done anything where there might be a player there. Like, he's always looked half it. But I think it's the same as Alan. It's two players that we could do with it. But I don't know how you feel, Ryan, about obviously Odin Holm is on loan at LAFC now. I don't know whether you see maybe him coming back and maybe pushing, because I feel like before he went on loan, he was one of the guys that fit into that bracket with Mike Navrocki. Like when he played, he did look impressive. Carried the ball well. I feel anyway, when he came into the club, there seemed to be quite a lot of attention round about it, like from the media and stuff like that. It seemed quite a player that would maybe one for the future. I don't know how you feel about Odenholm and his place at the club.
I'm sure he's on loans at Christmas time potentially. If that's correct, if I was going to put that time anyway. But if it is pre-season, I'm sure he's loans at Christmas. I might be wrong, but either way, I was a big fan of him when I looked at him before he came in. I'd done a bit of research on him, and like you says, Daniel, there was a lot of media hype about him. I'm sure it was Norway, he's Norwegian, isn't he? And the
Aye.
Norwegian press, and they were, but Celtic have got him for a bargain here. Like, this boy's really good, and his first few games, he looked good. He looked a bit of that, shall I call it, nastiness that I want in Celtic. I
Aye.
think we're too nice, Daniel. I think we're too nice. We're all tippy tappy, technical. It's all pick people up. Oh, it's all right, and I think I like that about him. But then a few games he came in and he got injured, and I think the game at Ibrox he came on, he didn't look good. And there was certain
Aye.
games I thought, right, this boy maybe needs a bit of coaching, a bit of kind of know-how about the Scottish game. And listen, he's a young guy, and has he done enough to say that he's not good enough? Probably no. Has he done enough to say that he's meant to be staying here? Probably no. I think he's maybe another one that, Aaron, I'm agreeing with Daniel, that he could, whenever he comes back, it might be Christmas, but it might be pre-season. I'm not too sure. I'll need to do my research on that. But if he comes back, I think Rodgers might give him time because he did get injured a wee bit. He's only played a wee bit, I think, in early due to injuries again. But on Odenholm, Aaron, he might be one where he could go elsewhere and he could be an absolute superstar, because before he came to Celtic, I'm sure it was Valerenga, he played a lot of games. I think it was 100 games before he was 17, 18, which at any level of football, Aaron, is phenomenal. So he's obviously got ability, but whether or not it's going to make him a Celtic player, it's beggars the question, Alan.
Aye, he was nominated for the Golden Boy. That's the young players that are kind of best in the world. He was in the top 100 for that, so that's why he's getting a lot of plaudits. But I don't want to kind of rip young players apart, but I don't think I've seen enough of Odin Thiago home to think that he's ready to kind of step up and play in the first 11 for Celtic. I might be wrong if he comes back for LA, but it's a kind of strange choice for a loan deal as well. If you're wanting somebody to kind of come in and get loan and maybe come back and make an impact in the Celtic team, it would usually be kind of a European-based team, you would think. You're looking at it like kind of Stephen Welsh that's went on loan to Belgium. There's a lot of our players that are on loan in Scotland, but to go kind of different stages of seasons, as you're saying, that kind of to the end of the year and into America, I'm struggling to see a future for him at Celtic. If I'm wrong, fair play, but he's not been terrible, but I've not seen enough to show that he's got the quality, kind of desire to be kind of a squad player or a starting player at Celtic as we stand.
And also there's, like you mentioned, loan players as well, Daniel. You've got Agberry, Ayr, done okay at Ayr. I've seen him against Thistle a few times. He's done okay. Do I think he's up to the Celtic level yet? Maybe no, but he's played well a lot. Scott Brown trust him to play that position. He does look physical, he does look powerful and strong. So he might come back to pre-season. And there was somebody else, Matthew Anderson as well. He's out on loan.
I like him, by the way. That
Anderson,
pre-season, I thought he was really impressive.
and Ben Summers. They're three guys have been out on loan. Daniel, what's Ben Summers was, I think he got a new deal recently, last year or two. He was tipped to be decent. They've sent him out on loan to obviously the feeder club. I don't want to say a name because I don't want to make myself look silly, but I know the club. I just can't say a name. But for me, Daniel, I don't know about the three players. I really don't know. I've not seen enough from them to say they're good enough young players to come in and play every week. There might be another loan spell for them and then come in. But do you think there's a plan in place for them to continue maybe a loan spell, Daniel, or do you think it's maybe time for pre-season again, see how they are, and if they could be the next young player to come in and step in?
Well, like you says, the boy that's where I've not watched a lot of the Scottish Championship this season, but if Scott Brown's trusting you to come in and play games, you must have a bit of something about you, because I don't think Scott Brick, we seen it with him at Fleetwood. If boys won the it, they wouldn't play. So aye, with the other two boys as well who are out on loan, I think it might be a case of, if they are coming back in the summer, maybe try them out in pre-season, and if it's not really clicking as a squad player, then look to get them a loan, because I feel like we need to keep our youth players, like, because we're letting too many go for either free or pennies. Do you know what I mean? So it would be nice to see a lot of the younger boys involved in pre-season, because no doubt we'll have a lot of friendlies. But I do believe that if there are boys who are coming back, and the stuff, they're just not happening, there will be plans put in place to rather loan them and try and develop them rather than sell them.
No, I agree with you. I know, Alan, on the three players you mentioned, the Matthew Anderson, I think he was tipped before America that he was going to do well for Celtic. I know they're sitting on loan. A lot of people think when you send it on loan, that should be finished. Look at Ryan Christie, Aberdeen came back. The injury to Kouassi, I was at a Celtic game when he got injured against Hearts at Moneyfield, and then never since then he didn't look back. So it could be a sliding moment though for some players to come in, injuries at pre-season, injuries in the league game, and then boom, they're in the team. So obviously we're trying to get a left back, because it seems yet Greg Taylor's no signing yet. I can't see it unless it's a last minute thing before he goes on holiday, etc. I don't think Celtic should be waiting. As much as Greg Taylor for me has been brilliant servant, I'm maybe not his biggest fan, but he's probably the best left back we've got at the moment. I think Celtic can't dilly-dally and wait till he's finished his pre-season holiday. We need to get something in place. We need to know the plan. So does Mark Fransky come back into pre-season? Does he shine? Does he save the club a few million? Who knows? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, out of all the loan players that's mentioned, obviously a lot of them get game time in America last year. That was the one that kind of stood out to me, that Matthew Anderson, he looked fairly decent. He looked as if he possibly had the standard to make that step up. There's a long way between the kind of youth setup and kind of playing for Celtic regularly, domestic basis and European level. So yeah, well, it's just a case of seeing how they've progressed during the pre-season. I think there's none of them really like shouting out, they're definitely going to be a Celtic player, they're going to definitely have a run in the team and all that. There's nothing like that. I think especially when we're looking at the last loan player, we'll probably say is, I think Adam Montgomery's times maybe came to an end at Celtic. I think he's one that's been in the peripheries of Celtic for a few years minimum. He's not really managed to make that breakthrough, shall we say. He's had a considerable amount of game time. A lot more than we'll ever get, but he's not really reached that level that he's going to kind of break through, and I think it's probably time that he permanently moves on this year. I'm sure he's out of contract as well. Am I right in saying that?
You might be right, mate.
Might be right. So I think out of all the players that are on loan, we'll see in pre-season there might be a few that come forward and surprises, but apart from kind of Matthew Anderson, the rest of them I'm kind of struggling to see where they go if they're going to remain with Celtic. I don't know, but then we're looking at kind of, you want to move on to players that are in the first team squad. Aye. I just think this is going to be a big summer for us before I mention any of these, because I think you look, we probably need a wake up call. I know we've won the league by umpteen points. We've managed to kind of do better in the Champions League, and we've won the domestic League Cup, but you're looking at, there's been a lot of inconsistencies this season. We've not really played to our maximum, our capabilities at certain times throughout the season. I think it was a stat that you sent me last night, Ryan. I think we've lost 7 games domestically this calendar year.
We lost 18 points in January, so that's equivalent to a 6 defeats.
And last calendar year we didn't lose 1 game domestically, so I think there's warning signs there. I'm not saying for the full first team 11, but I think there's signs there that we need a wee bit of refreshment. I think the squad. Maybe leads a few players out and a few players in. I think maybe some of the players might be getting a wee bit too comfortable. And we want to be well ahead to every other team in this country. We want to kind of push forward and continue to do so. We don't want to kind of get to the point that we did with COVID and it comes back and bites us. So we need to make sure we're well prepared for the Champions League. We make sure that we're well set up. And I think probably these are players that a lot of Celtic fans will kind of, they'll be 50-50, they'll be in the middle, but you're looking at the likes of kind of Taylor, if they want to stay on. Scales, I think he will stay on. Trusty, has Trusty done enough in his first kind of year to merit kind of staying on at Celtic? Will we be looking forward to bringing him back? Or will Brendan have other ideas about another centre half? Yang, I think he probably will stay. He needs to improve again, but I think we probably need better if we're going to see a better version of Celtic. Johnny Kenny, we've not really seen enough of him to make a proper judgment. And you're looking at kind of Adamida as well. I know that I've been one that's been really, I've not been happy with the way that Adamida's played. I've not said the kind of the nicest thing, shall we say, about Adamida. But I think we were looking at it as a whole. When Adamida started getting game time, Kyogo was playing for the last couple of months and seemingly he was unhappy. Kyogo wanted out the door, seemingly unhappy, but Adamida was still on the bench and Kyogo was still getting picked in front of Adamida. I know that he scored 20 goals he scored, but for us kind of paying that money, have we seen enough of Adamida? For me, it's a no. Would it be enough to kind of, if Kyogo and Maida were still there, would you have him in front of any day too as a first or second striker? For me, it would be a no. So we'll probably see how he does in pre-season, but I would like to see him kind of need a bit of improvement in his all-round game. Because as we stand just now, we've got rid of Kyogo and Adamida stepping up to the plate, and that is probably a regression because for me, Kyogo's a far better all-round player than we'll go to Adamida. And I think Brendan will probably be looking for another striker in the summer to come in. And where does Adamida fit there with Maida obviously being number one?
I think on some of the players are, and a lot of fans love Scales, some fans love Taylor, some fans love Vida, a lot of fans want Yank to do well, they think there's something there, which is, listen, it's all about opinions, we're all different opinions. For me, I don't think Yank should barely play again. Again, that might be really harsh, but I'm wanting this club to be the best we can, and if Yank coming off the bench to make Celtic better, we've seen it in the cup final, no good enough. I think that's one reason why Greg Taylor didn't go to the ball, because he was expecting Yank to be there and he wasn't. So then Taylor had to decide, what do I do? Do I back half or do I go? And for me, that was one reason why the goal happened, because I said it to JP on the pod on Wednesday. If Greg Taylor goes to that man, that's not got to Schmeichel. But take away what Taylor done there, did they? Schmeichel still got to save that. But I think he's expecting Yang to be there. For me, I've seen Yang's positional sense is terrible. Listen, he's good on the ball. He can be direct. Listen, he's done well off the bench in the odd game. But if we want to move forward as a football club, even squad players, we need better squad players than Yang. Personally, listen, if he improves in pre-season, brilliant. Listen, I'll go. Maybe I was hasty, but I can't be hasty because he's been here nearly 3 years, 2.5 years, and he's not really cut the mustard as yet. He played 60 odd times or something last year for Celtic, or he has for Celtic. He's probably had about 5 assists and 4 goals.
That's a good enough. 65 appearances
in 2 years after he's been at Celtic. And he's had about maybe 5 goals or something, 5 assists. Is that good enough for Celtic? No. Adamida, I can't criticise him on his goals because he's paid to score goals. I'm not a big fan of him, but to score 20 goals at Celtic as a second choice striker compared to the ratio of games, it is a good return. So I can see the man's are going, right, next year you need to improve, but his all-round game for me is not good enough. People say his physicality, I don't see it. His powerful and pace, I don't see it. His positional sense is actually all right, to be fair. He's in the box.
I think he's lazy as well, Ryan. We'll say that's his attitude. And his
it can be. But his goal scoring's fine. He's a finisher. Listen, no doubt about that. He's a finisher. But I think if he adapts his all-round game, I've said it in the past, I think we've got a real good striker there. But he's got that's got to be better. And if there's one guy that can do it, it's Rodgers. He can coach him, he can help him. And I think if Adam makes a good pre-season, obviously last season at Norwich in and out, didn't have pre-season, a full pre-season, I think Adam will be better. He mentioned there as well. Who did you mention there as well? You mentioned some two other guys there as well. Taylor, Ida, Yang, Trusty. I'm wanting to give Trusty another pre-season. He has got to toughen up. Listen, I know you're better me, right? I know he would get me in a stronghold, and he's probably far stronger than I'm saying he is. But we've seen a few games. Dundee, the manager, we can all read weak as piss. We can all read, and he wasn't happy. And we've seen it. He's ruthless. He can change things. You've seen the scales at Aberdeen, the game at Hampden. That was due to pace, that was due to skills, making mistakes, and then they put in Trusty in that game, and they took Trusty off because he made a mistake and put skills back in for the, I think it was the final, final. So that just shows you that the manager will make changes, but Johnny Kenny, again, no saying off him. He is probably the third choice if he's going to be here longer term, but I think for me anyway, I'll put this on to you, Daniel, but me and Daniel spoke about there. Me and Alan, sorry, on the players, and then obviously we'll touch on Daniel Cummins and then we'll wrap up. But I think we need to go and sign a blockbuster signing in terms of striking wise. If it's Kitzelsgaard and if it's whoever it is, because for me, do I think Maeda might score the same goals again next year? He might not. He might not, and we can't bank on Daiser Maeda scoring the goals again because he could have a bad season. He could have a bad 6 months, and we need to sign, in my opinion, for us to take the next level, Daniel, i.e. playoffs, European football, make Celtic better in Europe. We need a better option up front to go with A2, i.e. and free if Kenny's still there. But we need to spend, in my opinion, I think we need to go and break the transfer record again because we need, Celtic always have top strikers. And now, listen, who says Maeda's going to stay here? He might go. Money talks. But for me, Daniel, we need to go and sign. For me, it's a priority. We need to go and sign a blockbuster centre forward.
I just to touch on a few of the players mentioned there. I feel like with Johnny Kenny, with the couple of games he's come in, he has looked sharp. No match fitness, he's maybe struggled a wee bit, but he does certainly carry a presence in the box. He's couple of got, I think it was only one goal we got.
His goal at Aberdeen was brilliant. Really good.
It's a great finish. And Adam Ida as well. He's going to be, if Taylor does leave the club, I think he does going to be the one that splits the most hairs moving forward because, like we said, with Kyogo, when he came into the club, he was a tried and tested player, knew exactly the system he wanted to play. He was an expert at what he done, really. And he came in, I think Kyogo came into the club 26, 27 years age, something like that. So he was an experienced striker coming in, and he was an expert at what he done. And I feel like that is what frustrates a lot of the Celtic fans because Adam Ida is still a younger player, and sometimes he just doesn't look as if he knows what he's doing. Like he always looks as in two minds. I've said this before. He always looks in two minds with his movement in the box. But like you said, he's 20 goals, but I know a few times JP's mentioned on here about the 3 players that have reached the 20 goals. The 2 other players that have done it are 2 wingers. If you're the main striker for Celtic Football Club, it should be you that's hitting that mark first. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, Maeda does look the new or strongest option through the middle, but I do agree that Celtic should look to bring in a blockbuster striker because we've seen it with Rodgers. Maybe it could prove us wrong, and Brendan Rodgers has always had a quality striker in his team, whether it's with us or down at Leicester, stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So he knows how to develop a striker. We've seen it with Moussa Dembele, we've seen it with Odsonne Edouard. So I would like to see that with Adam Ida, but I think if you give him a pre-season and it's not improving, then you do need that competition, especially in Europe, because we cannot rely on what if we keep Maeda fit, what if we keep Ida fit. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to see us bring in spend a lot of money on a striker because you either get somebody who is amazing or you've got another option to try and
Mm-hmm.
figure out if something works. So I agree. A lot of money does need to be spent on a top quality striker for the club.
Because the only reason I'm saying that, Alan, we'll touch on this, then we'll end on Daniel Cummins, then we'll obviously wrap up the show. But the reason why I'm saying a striker, because for me, a striker, maybe I'm biased because I played there, right? But for me, the striker is the most important part of the team because they win you games, they win you titles. Goal scorers are worth their weight in gold. You look at Haaland, right? Haaland had a terrible season, still scored 31 goals. Take away his 31 goals, Man City are probably finishing 8th or 7th.
Yeah.
Never mind getting to top 4. So for me, the striker's got to be the main man. The striker's got to be the main focal point, and he's got to be brilliant. So I just think for you repeat, I think Maeda and Kenny for Scotland, lads, Alan, I think they're fine. Right? I think they'll
Right.
still potentially win you the league, right? But I think if we want to go to the next level, Alan, I think we need to, if it's Kitz's I'm just saying this because he's linked with us a lot, guys like that out because he seems to be really good. I've done a bit on him. His movement's different class. He's quick. He's strong. He's powerful. He's dynamic. He's everything Brendan Rodgers says he wants in a player. Everything that I've seen. So for me, Alan, I'm not saying it's him, but I don't know if you agree on it. But I believe we need even somebody better than Maeda, by the way, which in terms of technical ability, in terms of football wise, I think he can. In terms of his fitness wise and his pressing, be very hard. But in terms of raw ability, I think we can buy a top striker and we've got the money to do it. I think now this is where Desmond and Nicholson and Pete Lawwell and Chris McCart, all these guys, flex their muscles and stay ahead of the curve.
I think it's imperative we bring in another striker. Brendan has publicly said after Kyogo left that he needed another striker and they didn't get it. And now we're another transfer window in, so I think we're needing at least one striker in. I think that will be probably one of our kind of biggest signings in regard to finance. There's been a lot of rumours regarding Fitzgarden or however you pronounce his name, but I think we definitely need somebody better as we speak up there. I think Maeda has done fantastically well, but I don't think that was the plan all along, as Brendan said, that Maeda's a winger. I know he's played there for Japan and I know he's played there for us this season, but I think the only reason he has played there is because other options maybe not performing up to the level that Brendan desires and requires. That's the only reason that Maeda's there. If we had Maeda playing out his skin and everybody is saying he's great, I think Maeda still stays out in the wing. I don't see him coming through the middle. If Kyogo stays, I don't see Maeda coming through the middle. So I think it's clear for everyone to see that we need another striker and probably a starting striker. I think that we require somebody that's going to come in, Maiden on the wing, and I think we need somebody that's going to offer us more all round than Adam Mida at present. If Adam Mida has a good pre-season and comes on and proves everyone wrong, then I'll be the first one to put my hands up. But as it stands just now, for me, Adam Adair's all-round game is not good enough for where we want to be as a squad in our first 11.
He says that's all about opinions. I'd made a will split opinions. A lot of people like him because of what he's done at the club and what he's done this season. Again, I can't up any cycle that scores 20 goals, but I did say that in January. I think he only had 9 goals or something like 8 goals or something in January or something like that. But if he didn't get to 20 goals, I'd be thinking about, right, that's not good enough. It doesn't matter if it's your first choice or second choice. A Celtic striker, I'm agreeing with Daniel, should always be hitting over 20 goals because you should be the main target man. So, but obviously, last bit, Daniel, you wanted to speak on, obviously, Daniel Cummins. I think he's got a contract. I might be wrong, I might be right on that, but if memory says me right, he's got a contract. I think he can speak to people. He was one that obviously Brendan gave a deal to. He's knocked it back. Is it financial? Is it the pathway? But what's your thoughts on that one, mate?
I feel like with that player, we've seen in the B team that he is a standout. He is scoring a bag full of goals season upon season. like you says, Brendan did offer him a contract, and we don't know whether he's knocked that back due to money or game time or things like that. But with this player specifically, it encapsulates the whole. Maybe I'm not going to say problem because we're still successful, but a slight issue in the youth setup with the club. The pathway to the first team is becoming more and more difficult from a youth side because we've got this model of buy cheap, sell for expensive, rather than like the focus has shifted from developing talent and bringing it through and selling on to buying for a bit cheaper, developing them and then selling them on. So I feel like if you've got a goal scorer there, like the striker debate, if you've got a guy there who for your development team has became the standout player there, give him a chance. Like we've seen him on the bench a few times, and did he even step fit on the pitch for a significant amount of time this season? I don't think so.
Briefly,
Maybe some
but nothing
cameo
major.
appearances in the last 10, 20 minutes. Like no substantial amount of time to be able to make any impact in the team. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like with him, there is a player there, Alan. I don't know how you feel if you rate him but I feel like if we did see him, like pre-season's the ideal chance to give him a chance. Obviously, his contract is expiring, but give him that belief. Do you know what I mean? It's a perfect chance to see one of your youth players given that opportunity to go. There's a bit of money. There's a pathway to the team. Go and show me why you deserve it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I've always seen bits and bobs, but you look at his goal scoring record, and he was scoring goals for fun. I think at one stage it was like 24 goals and 23 appearances or something before all the kind of drama happened. But I think we're maybe a bit hesitant on tying down these players, and I don't know the reason why. I think your point's absolutely spot on there, Daniel. I think we're choosing to kind of buy players to develop rather than develop our own that's coming through kind of Lennoxtown. And I think this is probably the prime example because this Daniel Cummins scored goals for fun in the B team. I know there's a massive step up to the kind of the first team, but if he had signed a new contract, would you see Daniel Cummins getting a lot more game time than the likes of Johnny Kenny did? I'd probably say so. If that obviously we'll never know if that happened because he's not signed a contract. But if he'd signed a new deal, I think he would have maybe come in as a third choice striker, and I think he probably would have got more game time than Johnny Kenny got. But I think it's something we'll speak about in another podcast probably throughout the summer. But I think there is a failure with regards to the youth system. We are bringing through players, but if you can list the likes of kind of Daniel Cummins, Rocco Vata that's moved on to Watford, Ben Doak that is tremendous just now for Scotland and Middlesbrough, but he's still owned by Liverpool. Who was there not? There was another one that doing
Daniel Kelly.
Daniel Kelly as well. So these are players that maybe we should have took a chance on and signed them up in a kind of longer term deal. We're making failings somewhere there because all the finance that we're investing in regards to kind of Barrowfield, Lennoxtown, etc., we're not seeing that bearing any fruit, shall we say. We'll speak about that in another podcast, but I think probably Daniel Cummins may be another example of this, that we're no producing the youth that the finances show that we should be producing.
Oh, I think your two's are bang on there. With Daniel Cummins and in general, the youth setup, we do put a lot of money into Lennoxtown. I know Barrowfield's getting done up as well now. That should be open very soon. I think with the money you plough in terms of finances, we should be getting at least one a year, ideally, through your youth setup is to obviously try and save money as well and bring in a player. You get them cheap, and then you sell them on, and I just think there's obviously failings there somehow, if you want to call it failings or issues or problems, whatever people want to call it, because we're not bringing it enough through. Is it the coaching system? Is it the coaches? Is it the attention they're getting? Whatever it is, there's something not working. So I think, lads, we're all bang on this. I think it's got to change. I think a lot of fans think the same. But again, we will touch on a lot of these players again, probably. We will touch on Daniel Clement's situation if anything comes with that. Ross Doohan, if it's in another player up front. Well, listen, there's loads of podcasts to talk about all this during the summer. There's loads of time now to elapse through the pre-season. So, but I do think it'll be interesting. A massive summer ahead. If you are tuning to the podcast, please like and subscribe on YouTube. We are on all social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Spotify. You can get us on that as well, and Apple Podcast as well. Please share the podcast. We were on Wednesday, like myself and JP. Please like and subscribe that as well, and share that as well if you can. It is a pretty interesting topic. I think a lot of fans will engage in as about fan engagement. We will touch on more about that because I think it's a lot of topics that we can talk about on that, because for me in general and JP, I think Daniel and Alan, you feel the same. The fan experience at Celtic Park, trophy days, etc., is pretty limited. It's not really made out a big occasion, and I feel personally that it should be. But again, if you want to listen to that or watch that, you can watch it on the social media platforms and get involved with that. But again, Daniel, Alan, and myself, thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. This will be out on Friday. If you're just seeing it at the end here, this will go out on Friday evening. We'll see you then. Have a good weekend and hail, hail.
Yeah, well.